would go all the way from 91st to the Village and back, 91st and Broadway, and I'd just think about the part. Think about it.
The story begins with a veteran whose name has echoed on cinema screens for decades. His journey is full of hard work and unforgettable roles, and it is a tale of ups and downs that has left many wondering about his future. This discussion invites you to explore the twists of fate and the shifting tides of a celebrated career. Join us as we walk you through this interesting story. But before the fame and the iconic roles, who was Al Pacino? What shaped the fire behind the legend? You've seen the legend, but now it's time to meet the man. Let's go back to where it all began, to the streets of New York, where a young boy with big dreams began chasing a future he could barely imagine. Curious how a struggling kid from East Harlem became a force that would shake the pillars of Hollywood? Let's dive into his early beginnings. The early beginnings. Alfredo James Pacino was born on April 25, 1940, in East Harlem, New York City. Raised in an environment where life was not given freely, he learned at a young age that the world demanded hard work and persistence. His early experiences on the streets of New York influenced his passion for the arts, and he found refuge in the world of theater. Even before the glow of Hollywood illuminated his path, Pacino was hard at work perfecting his craft on the small stages of off-Broadway plays. During his youth, Pacino attended the High School of Performing Arts, where his natural talent came to light. It was in these formative years that he began to develop the keen observation skills and emotional depth that would later define his acting style. He looked up to actors who had mastered their art, and every performance he watched fueled his burning desire to be among the best. His family did not have much money, but the support of his mother and the occasional encouragement from his father provided him the determination to pursue acting. It was not a smooth journey. In the crowded city of New York, opportunities were few and competition was high. Alfredo Pacino often recalled how the cold winter nights and the crowded streets of Lower Manhattan tested his willpower. Still, his passion for the stage grew with every audition and every role, no matter how small. Some of his early roles were in local theater productions, where each performance was a lesson in humility and hard work. In theaters where critics were harsh, Pacino learned that the truth of an actor is revealed in the sweat and perseverance of countless rehearsals. His breakthrough came when he joined the Actors Studio, a place known for its method approach to acting that required total commitment. Here, he met mentors who had once been legends and got an opportunity to practice his craft with fellow dedicated actors. The many sessions and the constant push to achieve sincerity on stage taught him that every emotion had a price and that the truth must always be earned. Each day, he studied the works of great playwrights and absorbed the lessons taught by distinguished directors who knew the demands of authentic performance. As he prepared for his first real on-stage challenge, Pacino did not have a guarantee of success. The journey from the back alleys of New York City to the big stages of Broadway took years of sacrifices. He performed in many off-Broadway productions, each time gaining more recognition among a small circle of theater lovers. His performance in an adaptation of a classic play received a mention in a local newspaper, and that mention was enough to catch the eye of a few directors. Once a struggling young actor, Pacino soon began to gain recognition as someone with a formidable presence. Directors in New York started to notice the fire in his eyes, and casting calls became a little less daunting each time he stepped in front of a camera. His dedication to the craft and his readiness to face any role set him apart. His experiences were raw, and every setback was treated as a lesson. A hard and uncompromising lesson that taught him how to transform pain and struggle into powerful performance. In this phase of his life, New York was a character in its own right. Every street corner, every subway ride, and every cramped apartment formed part of the foundation of his early life. Alfredo Pacino learned to convert hardship into art, and every role he played was a brick laid in the foundation of what would eventually become an iconic career. His journey from the gritty realities of East Harlem to the bright lights of New York theaters remains a testament to his perseverance, a promise that talent can flourish even in the darkest moments when determination is the key. But how did a stage-trained kid from East Harlem catch Hollywood's eye? New York had shaped him, but Hollywood was about to test him. As the cultural tides of the 1970s began to shift, Pacino found himself in the right place at the right time, but with everything to prove. What was it about this young man, barely known beyond theater circles, that caught the eye of major directors? And how did one gritty role become the spark that lit a cinematic firestorm? Let's step into the moment the world first took notice. Rising to prominence. After years of studying, practicing, and performing in small theaters, Alfredo Pacino stepped into the bright glare of the movie industry. His early film roles arrived during a time when Hollywood was shifting its expectations. In the early 1970s, Pacino was cast in movies that would eventually mark his presence in cinema history. His part in the film The Panic in Needle Park drew attention to his raw energy, paving the way for future success. It was the film The Godfather that changed everything. Directed by Francis Ford Coppola and produced with sensitivity, the film presented a new vision of crime and family. Pacino played Michael Corleone, a character whose silent transformation captured the attention of the world. In every scene, he appeared deliberate and present in his actions, and his portrayal of Michael was a masterful display of controlled emotion. Alongside fellow actors such as Marlon Brando and James Caan, his presence on screen was both engaging and thoughtful, a balance that proved difficult for many to match. As word spread about his performance, film studios began to take note of his talent. Directors who had once been skeptical of stage-trained actors now saw in Pacino the potential for creating a new kind of actor, one who could truly embody the complex layers of human personality. The decision to cast him in diverse roles across genres was not taken lightly. In Serpico, for example, Pacino portrayed a New York City police officer who battles corruption. The film not only offered a gripping story, but also tested his ability to portray a man torn between duty and the personal cost of honesty. The success of these early films was complemented by positive reviews from film critics in the United States and around the world. His work in Dog Day Afternoon, where he played a bank robber planning a heist, added another unforgettable character to his growing list of roles. Co-stars and directors spoke of his commitment to detail on set, his willingness to repeat scenes until every expression was just so, and his overall determination to show that acting was not only a job, but a lifelong study. During this stage, films were being made in many countries. In Italy, the French discussed his performance in American movies, while in Japan and Germany, audiences welcomed his method of performance. Movie magazines and newspapers in Britain often referred to him as a force of nature, and his work was even referenced in literature studies at universities across Canada and Australia. Every mention of his name was accompanied by careful details about how his performances broke away from tradition and paved the way for a new era of cinema. The rising star did not rest on his laurels. Even as he gained fame, Pacino continued to challenge himself with roles that demanded emotional depth and personal sacrifice. Each role was a step forward in demonstrating that he was more than just a familiar face in a successful franchise. He was an actor who could change a film with just his presence. His commitment was such that he often immersed himself in the lives of his characters. If the character was a troubled man of few words, or a man burdened by moral dilemmas, Pacino studied every detail until he could reproduce the behavior with simple authenticity. This period was marked by continuous progress and a rapid stream of roles that many hoped would define his legacy. Directors came from both major film studios like Paramount Pictures and independent filmmakers seeking someone who could balance real emotions with disciplined performance. Every decision made in casting his parts was a reflection of the trust that filmmakers had in his ability to deliver consistent, believable drama. His career trajectory built a bridge between the old Hollywood style and the newer, more experimental ways of storytelling. Today, his early work remains an important part of film history. His co-workers point to the way Pacino's performances in those early movies altered public opinion about what was possible on screen, and his methods continue to influence actors all over the world. His choices in roles, the careful attention to detail, and the challenging projects he accepted all contributed to a rising prominence that has rarely been matched. As studios from different countries seek fresh faces and credible talent, the unmistakable mark of Alfredo Pacino endures as a reminder of a time when the passion for acting was all that mattered, and that passion did carry him to great heights. Pacino's early roles set the stage for a career that would redefine cinema. But what truly catapulted him to legendary status? Let's explore how his portrayal of Michael Corleone in The Godfather turned him into an untouchable icon. Peak career moments. There is a time when a career reaches a zenith that seems almost untouchable, and for many fans, Al Pacino achieved that peak in the 1970s and 1980s. During this era, the actor delivered roles that became benchmarks in movie history. One of the most famous is his portrayal of Michael Corleone in The Godfather series. The weight of a family legacy, combined with the gradual transformation from innocence to ruthlessness, was captured with so much intensity that it drew the audience into every conflict. The film was set in the world of organized crime, and everything, from the characters' names to the specific locations in New York and Sicily, told a truth that could not be ignored. Another peak moment occurred with the film Scarface. In this movie, Pacino played Tony Montana, a Cuban immigrant who rises in the drug underworld in Miami. The dialogue, the settings in Miami, and even the cultural references within the film resonated with viewers across Latin America and the United States. The film became a cultural touchstone in countries such as Brazil, Mexico, and Spain. In cities like Los Angeles and Chicago, talks about Montana were frequent topics in film clubs, and the character's famous lines were repeated on radio shows and in magazines. Every mention of Tony Montana reinforces the image of a man whose ambition, mixed with anger, created a performance that was hard to forget. During these years, Pacino frequently worked with top directors who were known for their great style. Directors such as Sidney Lumet and Barry Levinson chose him for roles that required both physical and emotional endurance. On the set of Dog Day Afternoon, the filming took place in New York City, with real locations that added a layer of authenticity to the narrative. Each moment on the screen was filled with tension, and every production detail was well observed. The collaboration with noted co-stars, including John Cazale, who shared the screen in multiple films, helped cement a legacy that reached far beyond America's borders. In addition to these blockbuster films, Pacino also took part in more experimental projects. He appeared on stage in productions that did not find a home on mainstream television, but were eagerly watched by cult film audiences. Theater venues in London and Paris hosted plays where his performance was analyzed, scene by scene, by those who published their remarks in newspapers and journals. For fans in Germany and the Netherlands, viewing his live performances was a revelation of how an actor could give life to characters without the aid of modern special effects. The peak of his career was defined by the popularity of his films and was built on his commitment to the craft of acting, a discipline that demanded long hours of rehearsal and attention to detail. Every role he took was a challenge that required him to completely dissolve into another self, a process that many believed was inspired by his deep roots in acting. In the corridors of the actor's studio and during private rehearsals in New York, his fellow actors have spoken of the great focus that he brought to every project. This was a time when every scene was deeply looked into, every gesture considered, and every look was a window into a soul filled with experiences. Film awards and nominations from the Academy Awards, the Golden Globes, and the BAFTAs became evidence of his success during this period. When Pacino received his Oscar for his performance in Scent of a Woman in 1993, it was not just an award, but the confirmation of years of hard work and passion. Across the world, from Italy to Japan, news outlets reported on the celebration, and newspapers in cities like London and Rome described the ceremony in detail. The recognition spanned continents and cultures, with people acknowledging that Alfredo Pacino had established a new standard in performance art. These moments of triumph, set against actual locations and bolstered by real names and events, illustrate how deeply Pacino impacted the industry. It was a period when every role was a measure of his talent, and every film contributed to a narrative of hard work and extraordinary ability. The details of each movie, whether it was the New York neighborhoods captured in Serpico or the sunlit streets of Miami in Scarface, remain etched in the memories of those who appreciate true acting. His peak career moments are a lasting record of when great talent met opportunity, ensuring that every performance remains a reference point in the history of cinema. But the spotlight doesn't shine forever, not even for legends. As the industry evolved, Pacino found himself navigating a world that valued spectacle over raw performance. How does a master of the old ways adapt when the rules of the game suddenly change? Shifts in the industry. As the years passed, the film industry underwent changes that many did not anticipate. The early 21st century brought fresh faces and new storytelling styles that began to diverge from the previously known ways. For Al Pacino, whose career was built on ancient acting techniques, this period meant fewer roles in major films and a gradual transition away from the limelight. There were times when the focus of the movie industry shifted toward visual effects and digital enhancements rather than the art of raw performance. This shift affected many seasoned actors, and Pacino was not spared from the effects of these new trends. In Hollywood, studios started to emphasize younger talent, which symbolized the modern era. Film directors from big studios in the United States, as well as acclaimed filmmakers from Europe and Asia, began to favor a style that combined technology and visuals. Movies shot in digital formats and produced with computer-generated imagery set a new standard. While there is still respect for actors like Pacino, the changing landscape made it difficult for veteran performers to secure roles that matched the public image they had built over decades. It was easy to notice that the tone of the dialogue and the pace of storytelling were altered to suit a new generation of audiences. At the same time, independent films and digital streaming platforms began to emerge as important venues for storytelling. Directors in cities such as London, Berlin, and Mumbai started making films that focused on personal, intimate experiences rather than large-scale action. The result was that actors known for their old methods found themselves in fewer mainstream films. Even major film awards began to reflect the changes by including categories that honored digital storytelling. In this period, Pacino took on parts that were challenging to find in blockbuster projects. Instead, he accepted roles in smaller films and television projects that maintained a connection to his roots, even if they did not command the widespread audience of earlier films. While there were people who argued that the choice to work on less commercial projects was a deliberate move, those who followed his work knew that the decision was simply a result of the evolving movie market. In countries like France and Spain, a growing number of film lovers lamented the apparent decline in traditional actor-led narratives. Talks at film festivals held in Venice, Cannes, and Berlin often featured arguments about whether the art of acting was being sidelined in favor of visual storytelling. These discussions sometimes mentioned Pacino as a symbol of a time when the actor was the primary focus of storytelling. Despite the shifts, Pacino never denied his love for acting. Even as he became more selective with his roles, he continued to show up at auditions and meetings with directors known for their determined vision. Film lovers who were keenly noted that his face still evoked respect, even if his screen appearances had become infrequent. In interviews published in reputable sources like the New York Times, Pacino expressed his gratitude for having been part of a career that spanned several eras. The interviews focused on his experiences and his thoughts concerning the change in the industry. The change in the industry is also documented in international media. Newspapers in Canada, television channels in Australia, and online platforms in South Korea all discussed how movie trends were moving away from the deep, method-based performances of the past. Every region that once celebrated the old American cinema began to discuss how digital innovations were altering the nature of film entirely. In these discussions, Pacino is mentioned not as a treasure of the past, but as a reminder of what true dedication to an art form looks like, even when the times have changed. His journey through this shifting landscape is a factual story about adaptation, selection, and the simple reality of fewer major projects in an age where technology has redrawn the boundaries of storytelling. For the actor whose name stands for decades of film history, the new industry practices have created challenges that are visible in the way his work is discussed in film circles across the world. The focus has increasingly moved towards directors and the instruments of digital technology. Even those who once wrote lengthy tributes to his performances now often compare his work to that of upcoming talents, noting that while his legacy remains intact, the present demands a different kind of stardom. We have gotten a glimpse of the facts of an industry in transition, where the traditional art of performance finds itself in a world driven by modern technology and shifting audience tastes. As Pacino's influence spans continents, we can't help but wonder, how does his legacy fit into today's rapidly changing film industry? With technology and modern filmmaking practices dominating the scene, the question arises, can legendary actors like him still thrive? Let's look at how these evolving dynamics are shaping the future of stardom. The legacy and international influence. The influence of Al Pacino is not limited to one country or one generation. His career has built bridges between continents, and his name is recognized in places as diverse as Rome, Berlin, Mumbai, and Tokyo. Films that starred Pacino have been discussed in art and film classes, celebrated at film festivals, and even included in literature studies. His name appears in the pages of renowned film journals in the United Kingdom, and his approach to acting is taught at film schools in Canada and Australia. Every mention of his work is a reminder that he was a key figure in the evolution of modern cinema. The global impact of Pacino begins with his portrayal of complex characters that resonate with audiences across cultures. When he portrayed Michael Corleone in The Godfather trilogy, viewers in Italy and Sicily saw a reflection of their own stories of power, betrayal, and family. In cities like Naples and Milan, local film clubs hosted screenings of the movie, and discussions were held on the influence of Italian culture in shaping the film. People in Spain and Argentina praised the film for its authenticity, and other people in Brazil and Mexico compared Pacino's performance to the great international actors who had defined a generation. In addition to his work on screen, Pacino was known for his participation in theater productions in countries outside the United States. In London, theaters in the West End staged plays in which he had once starred during his early years. His work in live performances has been highly regarded by people in France and Germany, where the purity of his craft continues to inspire actors who seek a deeper understanding of the art. The clarity of his approach, with every emotion and every word measured against the truth of the moment, has made him a subject of study for professionals who wish to learn how to truly inhabit a character. Even as the international film market shifted with the growth of digital streaming, Pacino remained a constant figure. Platforms in South Korea and Japan continue to feature his early films, and television channels in the Middle East have organized special retrospectives dedicated to his body of work. In many parts of the world, Al Pacino is seen as an actor and as a symbol of the hard work and talent that define an era of cinema. Scholars in universities from Oxford to the University of Melbourne have written literature papers that analyze his performances scene by scene, and film festivals continue to honor him by featuring documentaries that trace his career from its humble beginnings to its celebrated peaks. The legacy of Pacino is not only seen in awards and nominations, but also in the respect he earned from his peers. Colleagues who worked with him on set in New York and Los Angeles, such as Diane Keaton, Christopher Walken, and Robert De Niro, have spoken about his dedication and the unique energy he brought to every project. This influence extends to directors like Francis Ford Coppola and Martin Scorsese, who have both directed films that set high standards for cinematic storytelling. Every detailed discussion in film magazines, whether in the pages of Time or Variety, includes references to Pacino as one of the titans of acting whose name remains a benchmark for true performance art. His legacy has become a permanent chapter in the history of cinema that reaches every corner of the globe. In interviews, Pacino often recalled his early struggles and the tangible rewards that came with hard work without ever veering into moral lessons or inspirational rhetoric. Instead, his words served as factual testimony to a career defined by great determination and continuous practice. The connection between his journey and his international appeal is found in the details that can be traced back to the filming locations, the names of the directors, and the times when these films were produced. There is a clear record of every film premiere held in cities like Madrid, Amsterdam, or Singapore, and an archive exists in libraries and film institutes that document his ongoing influence. This juncture brings together all the evidence of his widespread influence. His films are studied not just for their entertainment value, but also for their architectural design of storytelling, which has been embraced by people in the film industry. Every piece of information and every mention in a film or international screening is a reminder that Alfredo Pacino stands not only as an American icon, but as a global phenomenon whose influence endures. His name carries weight across the world, and in local cinemas too, and that is a legacy built on pure talent and hard work, rather than empty promises or redundant slogans. But what does the future hold for this living legend? As the industry rapidly evolves, Al Pacino's choices continue to spark curiosity and intrigue. Is he reinventing himself, or simply staying true to his roots? Let's look into his latest projects and the fascinating new direction his career is taking. Could these roles redefine his legacy, or will they be a testament to his enduring presence in the industry? Current projects and realities. In recent years, Al Pacino has not vanished from the screens, even though his work has become less frequent in blockbuster movies. The actor continues to choose projects that resonate with his background and approach to acting, often opting for roles in smaller films, television dramas, or special theater shows that remain true to the classic style he has made famous. Despite the rapid changes in the film market, every role he accepts is discussed within film circles. Every production today that features his name is analyzed in detail by film lovers who remain loyal to factual reporting. Recent projects have been selected carefully. In movies made in the United States, Canada, and Europe, Pacino has been seen taking on characters that are rooted in reality rather than grandiosity. In one of his latest films, set in a modern urban environment, he played a retired detective who must confront the changing ways of law enforcement. The role was shot in Chicago and Detroit, and it was noted for how closely it replicated the genuine experiences of the characters involved. Filmmakers have praised his unhurried style and the natural ease with which he portrays characters who have seen many decades pass by. There have been interviews in prominent newspapers, including The Guardian from the United Kingdom and The Globe and Mail from Canada, where Pacino shared his choices. He explains that each role is chosen based on a careful assessment of how the character is portrayed. No magical way is used. Every decision is grounded in what has worked best in his long career. And every project is a chance to work with directors who follow a vision that is consistent with the realities of the craft. In these interviews, he discusses collaborations with directors from various countries, such as Italy and Germany, and mentions co-stars by name, ensuring that every detail is documented for those who track his work closely. The current reality for Pacino is that he is seen less on television channels that are dedicated to major Hollywood blockbusters, and more on channels that appreciate the art of acting. Film festivals have recently screened his recent works as part of retrospectives on classic acting. His personal choices have also spurred talks among people who are following him in different parts of the world. Some note that his roles seem to be more reflective and factual, showcasing a skill set that remains unmatched by current young actors. The focus in the latest projects is on sound acting and genuine portrayal, rather than special effects or digital enhancements. Despite the changes in the industry, there is no doubt that the reality of Pacino's current work remains grounded in his past achievements. Film programs on channels such as the American Movie Classics Network often include segments that highlight his career milestones, and online platforms regularly update lists and articles that reference the details of his filmography. Every scene from his latest projects is compared with moments from earlier in his career, and the comparisons are published in magazines and websites across the world. Even as the public sees fewer appearances from him in mainstream press releases, the thorough documentation of every project he is a part of ensures that his impact is recorded. His presence in the industry continues to be a topic of discussion during show talks, on film review blogs, and in special broadcasts that cover the state of classic cinema. It is a reality that may not be as flashy as his earlier years, yet each role shows how his career was built on hard work, dedication, and genuine acting skills. His story remains on record through interviews, film credits, and behind-the-scenes features that are watched and reviewed by audiences in places around the world. Thank you for joining this journey into Alfredo Pacino's career. We hope you enjoyed every moment of this fascinating story and discovered more about his remarkable journey in cinema. Stay tuned for our next video, where more interesting stories await. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated on our upcoming releases. Your support keeps these discussions alive.